This is Duke University.
It's everything from, little girls and pink and candy and sweet and friendly and passive to boys will be boys, which happens really from birth on. If you've ever tried to buy baby clothes for somebody when you didn't know if the baby was going to be a girl or a boy, it's almost impossible. I mean, they have like camouflage for newborn boy infants and for little tutus for little baby girls. It's not quite that bad. I'm exaggerating, but it's almost that gender divided from birth on. And then I think the more you get into portrayals of adolescence, the more extreme those are. And then I think it's more complicated for adult women. Although I'm always amazed at how often professional women are portrayed as that word that rhymes with witches. That there's always an undercurrent of professional women as being a mean girl. That to be successful, you've given up something about your humanity or your kindness as a human being, and have had to be tougher than nails in order to succeed as a woman in the workplace. It would be nice to have a wider range of women in a wide range of roles. It would be nice to have I think it was in one of the readings you gave me that it's in Sheryl Sandberg's book, where she jokes about a website that somebody has where they've collected all these different media representations of businesswoman in business suit holding a screaming baby phone. The three things are woman in business suit, phone, screaming baby. And the implication that's a great sign there is if you're choosing to have any kind of a career, your child is either neglected, hurting, mourning, screaming, protesting. Something is terribly, terribly wrong with your child rearing.
It looked to me that Sex and the City was, a lot about, will this guy like me, and what kind of Jimmy Choo shoes I have, and what is the way the scar fits with something else. And that seemed to me much more playing into stereotypes of women, and I don't necessarily think helpful stereotypes. And this show, I think, makes some differences clear, and we have to admit it, but I think it makes similarities between the genders seem much more natural. Things are much less synthetic, much more natural. I mean, if you thought about, imagine you had a kid, a boy kid, a guy who was 16 years old, and you could do one of two things. You could expose them to 7 seasons of Sex in the City and then send them to the world, right? And that's the only cultural thing they know. Or you could expose them, there's probably 2 seasons of girls. Let's assume it will go 7 seasons. You would expose them to 7 seasons of girls. And that's their understanding of women. Which one would you prefer? I think I would prefer the girls one, which means that I think it actually has more respect, more think about mutual preferences, more nuance, closer to reality. So maybe that's my standard.
I think there's a piece of it that is probably true for everybody everywhere. When you come to college, you were a big fish in a small pond in many cases, and then you arrive at a place like Duke, and you suddenly confront a very different scenario. So everyone faces that kind of thing to some degree. But I think what people have pointed out is that for many women, one big part of their value at Duke often has to do with their physicality, their sexuality, their popularity, and the degree to which they match things that are seen as the norm or what is valued here. And some women really struggle with that over time.
I think part of what the college experience does do is perhaps undermine some of women's confidence. I mean, you're teaching a class, we're in a class where there are two very prominent teachers, one who's a man and one who's a woman. The statistics at Duke are that, in fact, the higher you get up the faculty rank, the more the ranks are governed, dominated by men. Women faculty are turned down for tenure more often, not just at Duke, but nationwide. Women of color are turned down even more than that. Out women of color are turned out, and I mean lesbian women of color are turned down even more. You know, there are statistics, national statistics on this. So part of what you're doing when you're a student is you're learning your own classes, you're learning content. You're also learning about status differentials and how the world is organized and who tends to succeed and who doesn't succeed.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.